So who remembers this sound? That's the iconic sound of the BBC Micro. I'm pretty sure this was limited to the UK, which for those of you watching who don't know, in the UK, the BBC is pretty much known for a TV broadcast. Back in the early 80s, there was this whole programme about getting people into learning about microelectronics and microcomputers to prepare them for the boom in computers. The BBC did a programme in 1982 called the Computer Literacy Project. There's even a dedicated website called bbcrewinds.co.uk, and you can see there's the BBC Micro, which is exactly what we have in front of us here. And it was all about teaching kids how to get into computers and programming back in the day. If we go around to the back and take a look now, you can see the mains cable was integrated, and there's actually a power brick inside of here, embedded to generate the lower voltages. And these had upgrades, so it has the EcoNet, with this one being empty. There was loads of upgrades you could do inside. You've got analog inputs, cassette, the RS423, you've got RGB output natively, RF output natively, and this is actually composite. You just need to use a little BNC to RCA adapter. And now you can connect your standard RCA up to here. On the bottom, there's a whole load more connectors for all kinds of things. And if we turn on, this is what we would have been greeted with as kids in the 80s. So you can see it's now loaded up one of the ROMs inside. We have 32K of memory, and it's got BASIC. So that means we can type the usual print, like so, and then port, say, hello retro. Finish with a quote, press enter, and we've just done a really simple command. You can now build these up and actually write programs and do full computer programs hand typed. This is how we used to learn. So this one's had a full recap and a HDMI output mod. So this is now coming natively out of the BBC Micro. So let's just take a look at some things we can do. Some really basic stuff is things like printing numbers. You can also do calculations. So let's just do 3 times 5.5 and it will give you answers. You can do parentheses and more complicated things, and it will work it out for you, except I typed prit there, not print. So if we just type that again, you can see that it works out really well for mathematics. A quick way to reset is control break. That will reset the computer. On top of one line of programs, we can just start with a number, say 10. This is now a line number, and we can start writing some actual program. If we type repeat, whenever the code hits this, it will just repeat over and over. That gets into a program loop. If we now type 20, so we'll just go 10 lines down, say print, enter a number. That's now the second line. You can always type list to see your program as it stands at the minute. We're just going to do something simple. We're going to ask for a number. So on line 30, we'll just do input, and we'll give it a variable name B. And then once we've got that input, the next code we want to print out half of semicolon B. It will now inject that into the string. We'll open the quotes again. We'll say is, and then we'll output what B divided by 2 is. And then finally, we will just loop. So we'll do, say, line 50 until B equals 0. So if you enter 0, we'll exit the program, otherwise it'll loop. To run that, we just type run, and now it's going to ask us a question, enter a number, 5, and half of 5 is 2.5. And then if you want to escape, or let's do another number, and escape is 0, and then it comes out of the program. So there's so much more you can do on this. You can even write games, run graphics, and do far more than just the basics. But you can see how cool this was in the 80s to be able to start writing your own programs. And this is what kind of gave birth to the Commodores and the Amigas. The Acorn was one of the very first. So I'm going to give this a full service, clean up. We've done the HDMI mod and recap, and we'll get this back to the customer.